Hi, welcome to the second session of understanding our investments. Now, in my first video, we talked about invest, time, resources, so the results. What is a predictable expenses? What is unpredictable resources you might be going through or you might be having? So now today we try to understand what is inflation. What does inflation means? I'm sure uh, we read a lot of books. What is inflation, goes up, down, where do we stand? It's a lot of economic reports, we do financial reports, a lot of things. But then let's try to understand in a layman language that what actually does it mean. Now, I was born 40 years ago. I was born in 1979. Now, at the time, now I'll tell you, this is definitely, I remember I used to ask my mom, dad, and my grandfather's generation was something different. Even I used to laugh, when he says, what he used to buy for the pennies, and then what are the things that they could buy for just for 1 rupee. I was so astonished. But then it's not the same thing as we speak. Now the time I born on those days, 1 liter of a milk, what we use today, at the time also, I'm sure people were using it, is 2.5 rupees to 3 rupees. We used to get 1 liter of milk. And most of the time, there's a lot of cows, and of course, uh, there's not of much of demand, but then still, we have a lot of resources at the time. In our home, we did have cows, and then we used to use it for ourselves, and then remaining, we used to sell it, of course, my parents. So, as we speak, 3 rupees was 40 years ago. And what is it today? 1 liter of cost milks in whichever the city you're in. And you can try to understand how far it went up. Now, I did my graduation and post graduation. For my entire education, I would say my dad must have spent about close, extremes being $1,000, the lowest being $500. It falls somewhere in between. That's the entire 20 years of education cost I had. Now, I don't need to tell you what is education cost today for a kindergarten kid moving further to a 20 years. I don't know what is the number is going to be. So you do your math and you'll come to know. Doesn't matter whether it's a low kind of school, a mid kind of schools, or extreme schools, of whatever the fee structures you may fit in. But you think about, you do your math for another 20 years based on what you're paying for your kid education today. Now, you can talk about wedding costs, you can talk about any food costs. Just to give you examples, the dozen of eggs at that time used to be 5 rupees, 4 rupees to 5 rupees, probably that was the highest. Probably my dad used to say. But the dozen of eggs, 5 rupees. And then in whichever the part of country or world you're in, uh, ask yourself, what is one dozen of eggs you're paying today? Now, I don't know, those days, I mean, I came from a village. I born and brought up in a village. So, I mean, there's no need of a house rents, etc. Those times, my grandfather built a house, my father lived there, we lived there, and then, eventually moved to a city, and then that's where we started renting houses. That's how it is. But then when you are in a village, you don't have to worry about your water bills and your upkeep of housekeeping facilities or security facilities. This is all not there. Everything is free, of course. But you as a society progresses, these are all become part of your life. Now let's say house, water, electricity, etc. What was the expenses 40 years ago, and what are the expenses which you're going through at present? You can do your math. Now, that's what inflation is. Now, it's the prices that keep going up. What you can buy for 100 rupees 40 years ago, you cannot buy today. And I hope that makes very a broad understanding of those examples which I gave you. So imagine the 100 rupees what you could buy. Probably today you can buy just, if it is a packed milk, and maybe 2 liters of milk is what you can buy, the same amount. Now, what happened to that? I mean, what happened to that money in between? Is just evaporated, or is it? And then starting from now, and if you can view this the same calculation of the 40 years coming down the line, I guarantee you, the way we are moving forward, you should be paying pretty much 200 to 250 rupees uh, for each liter of milk from 40 years down the line. And that's what I think. But then, it can go up even further, or probably it stays in between. But you're not going to buy a 1 liter of milk for 60 rupees, whatever the prices are there today, 40 years from now. That's guaranteed. You can watch your this video at the time, or pretty much you can understand how it works. Same thing goes on each and everything. The education, what cost you are incurring, wedding cost, your food cost, your house, water, electricity, everything will go up that fold. Now, don't go too further to 40 years. Think about 10 years. Calculate from now for another 10 years and think all the items, how much you're going to pay. That's why it's very important to understand the power of compounding. Now, how much salary, if you're a salaried person for 10 years, past 10 years you're working, or past 5 years. Now, each year you get an increment, pretty much anywhere between 1% to 10% or 15%, unless until you get the positions change. Now, with so much of the inflation is changing, of the cost of items, whatever you're buying for your daily necessities. Now, why don't your salaries goes up on that past? Because that's how the society is. You get less, but you need to spend more. Now, there are many habits which comes along with you, which I will discuss in a coming videos, that which you can control. Not saying that you need to live below your means, but you can do it exactly however the standard of living what you have at present. But then there are many things. If you just ask that one question, is it a necessity, or is it a luxury, or is it a necessity which you have to have that thing, or you just to have just because the new model of phone came and you just need to buy it just to experience that, whatever it is, that will come to that point. So how much salary increases you have for 10 years, past 10 years, or past 5 years, what are the increments which you received? So you always pretty much getting into a debt or use your credit cards. And there are many situations or many things that I've seen in my life, and also the colleagues whom I interact time to time. And then of course, it's being it in a manager, so the more salary goes and then your commitment goes up, it's standard phase. But then what we need to understand is that their expenses, you need to control. And then most important thing is that when you have expenses, or without you knowing, things that if you have to buy a milk, it doesn't matter. Tomorrow if someone says 70-80 rupees, and I'm sure that it's not going to be one part 80 rupees and then other part you can go, probably you can get 1 rupee less or 2 rupees less, but you're not going to get like one part of the city they're selling for 40 rupees and one part of the city they're selling 80 rupees. That's not going to happen. It's standard across, everything goes. That's how it develops, and that's how your pocket gets holes, by the way. So how much salary increments you are getting it? And when I'm saying about this point, now say for example I'm an executive housekeeper. I'm working there for a couple of years. I started 20 years ago. I'm doing that. But then see, each city has a different set limits based on the cost of living. It's not that it's not a standard, okay, this would be my ideal package, or this would be my ideal monthly income. Maybe it differs from city to city. Now, what happens, even though you look at it, oh yeah, I get 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs more on an average, but then what eats beaten up or eats up is your taxes you pay, the more you go up. Also, what is most important thing is that, the traveling, back and forth, and you additional expenses. So you need to give yourself a thought. But then it's never going to be that that certain position pays double the salary in a different city. It's not going to happen. If you're a room attendant, I remember back in 1999 when I joined as a supervisor. A trainee supervisor is what I joined, and then I started getting the salary of 2,500 rupees. I'm going to put that so that you can see my offer letter back in 1999. Now the supervisor is 2,500 rupees. A room attendant used to get about 3,000 rupees. I mean, those who were there for a while. So after working for 6 months, my salary increased to 3,500 rupees, which is the position of supervisor. And then I was pretty much getting the room attendant salary at the same time. But then with the 3,500, I worked for about 3 years just to have an experience so that I can move to the next level or try to understand, how the trade works, etc. Now, the room attendants and 20 years ago was pretty much making 3,000. Now, till about last year, I was working in the same city. Now, the room attendant makes 11,000 rupees. Now, you do your math. If any person who wants to support their family or, you know, or expenses for themselves, 11 to 12,000 rupees as we speak today. And how does it help them? uh, how much change from 20 years back to till? It's not much of margin. Pretty much, they wouldn't pay you in that much if that city limits is not increased, by the way. So unfortunately, fortunately, many people are ready to work for that. Things go on, and that's how some of these organizations continue to do well. But then in a city, it's all linked to each other. They don't pay you more than what is the trend around. Suppose in a separate hotel, if you're getting a 12,000 rupees a month, if even the new property which is coming up, they're going to pay you 1,000 more or 1,500 more to get this talent at least. They're not going to give you like 24,000 for a room attendant. This is absolutely true, and then this is how it works. So why I'm giving you those examples is that, as I said, I have seen it, and I've seen till today, I'm seeing it. So this is how it works, and this is unfortunately a trend. Now, what can you do to get better on what you have is the next episode I'm going to talk about. So inflation, trying understanding what you can buy for 40 years ago. Can you buy this with the same amount of money today? Unfortunately, no. The same thing, like 5 rupees, a dozen of eggs you can buy, but then today, with the same money, you pretty much buy one egg. So that's the difference. 40 years ago, you can get 12 eggs for 5 rupees, and today you can get one egg for 5 rupees. What happened in between? You do your math. It's the time. It's inflation. So with that note, I would like to leave it today, and I hope that was a bit of explanation on how you need to think forward and investing, and what are the opportunities you have also in investing. I'm going to leave you some thoughts on ultimately, investing is purely depends on which are the circumstances you are in. But once again, I'm stressing it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep and what you do with keeping that discipline. It's like, okay, I can say, oh no, I'm making only 10,000 rupees today, I cannot invest. See, if you cannot invest with what you make today, you cannot invest when your salary grows to 50,000, or like, because you never learned a discipline of investing in the first place. It's not going to come back when the day you make 1 lakh, because if you cannot control 10,000 with what you can do, you're not going to control when you make 1 lakh. So the idea is that it's same like, if you drive if you learn how to drive a bicycle, or if you learn how to drive a scooter, you can drive any scooter. If you don't know the trade of driving a cycle or scooter, you're not going to drive anything, by the way. So you need to learn how to get into the boat and start disciplining yourself, understanding the power of investment. With that note, I would like to leave it today. Be good to good, influence people around you. Stay tuned, stay blessed, and wait for my another video which is coming up. Thank you. Do leave your comments and thoughts on inflation if you have any certain examples which people can share and learn from and grow on. Most importantly, for you to understand what is the financial education and how it can help you to build your future and your family future. Stay tuned, stay blessed. Be good to good and influence people around. Thank you.